Hey, you've got this part of the video. You've got the live unedited edition. Home Gadget Geeks Thursday night. It's the 29th of November. It's 8 p.m. or a few minutes before. In the Central Time Zone, 9 Eastern, 7 Mountain, 6 Pacific. If you caught this any other time than that, you've caught it on our live channel. And that's okay. That's where all the live shows go. If you ever want to watch the unedited, uncut, not that I ever edit or cut anyways, but those are available there. You can subscribe there. If you want to catch the fully edited versions, you can catch those over at youtube.com/Jim Collison. We'll get you there. Sammie, this is our traditional Friday after Thanksgiving. Sammie's with me. Sammie, welcome.
Hello.
How you feeling after a much yesterday? A lot of food. A lot of food yesterday.
Pretty good, honestly. I didn't eat too much. I have learned over the years, once you're like fully in adulthood, you're like, I don't have a teenage metabolism anymore. I'm
Maybe I
gonna
should slow down.
have one plate
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
reasonable portions.
Yeah.
I did drink a lot of sparkling juice though.
Mm-hmm.
Probably had more sugar yesterday than I've had in the last year. But
Yeah.
worth it because
Yeah.
that sparkling juice is very good.
It's good. Turkey turned out well. That was
Very
good.
good.
Yeah.
We almost
Really
gave
well.
up on the smoker for good, but no more. We gave it one more shot, and it was
No.
correct.
I think we discovered we had done I had done 2 turkeys maybe 2 years ago, or was it last year? I can't remember.
I think it was
And
2
I did
years ago.
one on the grill, one on the smoker. The one on the smoker turned out dry, but I left it kind of open. You know, we make this tin foil envelope that goes around the turkey, and I'd kind of open it up to get some of the smoke flavor, but I think that kind of dried it out. And so this year, fully enclosed, bacon on top, Italian dressing, Heinz 57, all the stuff. And I think 24 hours of successful brining
Yeah,
was
and extra thick bacon.
yeah,
It was very
extra thick, the thickest we could get. Need to fry some of the rest of it up tomorrow.
good.
You need to bake it.
Just chuck it in the oven
Yeah, it's
for
the easiest way to
breakfast.
do it. So it's pretty good. Pretty good.
It was very
I
good.
think maybe the best one we've done in a while. Yesterday, everybody liked it. There wasn't much left.
Yeah,
So it was 18 pounds gone. Most of it
that's crazy. Normally
gone.
we have a fair amount left over,
Yeah,
but
yeah, no, everybody kinda liked it.
we
Everybody
liked it.
kinda liked it. So, yeah, some
I
good
think we
stuff.
also had the most number of people we've ever had for
It's true.
Thanksgiving.
It's true. 13, 14.
14.
Yeah. So it's good. Even the grandkids were eating some of the turkey.
hmm
So that's
Charlie
good.
came back for seconds.
Yeah. It's a good sign. It's a good sign when the
Yeah, good
grandkids come back.
stuff.
We'll get started here in just a second. If you're joining us, and I saw a few of you checking in early. I saw John Biggs out there. Sarah is hanging out today. She'll keep us abreast of the
Bonefish,
Nebraska, Iowa.
turkey puns.
Yeah. That's true. That's pretty good one. So 10-0 Nebraska. They're bowl eligible for the first time in 1,000 years, which is good.
Exciting.
And but it would be great if they'd win this game, beat Iowa. They haven't beaten them in a while. So good stuff. We'll keep an eye on that as well. Thanks for coming out. If you're joining us live, check it in the chat room. Let us know that you're in there. So here's Sarah letting us know. Oh, let me change those colors. Hold on. Let's get this color from here. Let's go rounded. There we go.
Yeah. Nice.
Then we'll go back to the chat. Now we'll say touchdown Nebraska.
There we go.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
we can throw the overlay up as well, and you can throw she's keeping us up to date on all the things that's going on, as well as saying, I think it was the best turkey yet. And I think you're right.
Agreed.
I think you're right. So, all right, Sammie, you know the drill here. I've got some opening stuff to do, and then we'll dive into you. Right.
Cool beans.
This is the Average Guy Network, and you have found Home Gadget Geeks show number 630 with Sammie Collison, recorded on November 29th, 2024. Here on Home Gadget Geeks, we cover all the favorite tech gadgets that find their way into your home. News, reviews, product updates, and conversation, all for the average tech guy. I'm your host, Jim Collison, broadcasting live from the AverageGuy.tv studios here in a chilly winter is here, Bellevue, Nebraska. It was cold outside, and of course, we'll post the show with some world-class show notes. I don't know how many links we'll have at Sammie tonight, but we'll post a few out there
A
out
few.
at theaverageguy.tv. Don't forget, or I want to say, I appreciate our Patreon subscribers. If you're a part of the Patreon team, and many of you are, you do it every single month. Thanks for doing that. That helps pay the bills and do some other stuff and buy some things and some other things that tech related that make stuff work here. If you want to join the Patreon team, head over to theaverageguy.tv/Patreon, and you can join that team. Just one plan, $5. Join it for 1 month or as many as you want. Thank you to all those who do it. Then also thanks, and this is December is the bonus month. We're buying stuff for Christmas, right? If you want to use the Amazon affiliate link on the site, head over to theaverageguy.tv. Upper right hand corner, there's some red lettering that says this site affiliate, blah 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 blah. With Amazon, click through that, and you're in business and you're on the way. So appreciate it if you do that as well. Don't forget, next week Christian joins us. I just confirmed he will be here. 14 years of Home Gadget Geeks that we will celebrate next week. He mentioned he's going to be a new dad. And so we got dad jokes lined up for him. If you want to leave a dad joke, it'd be great if you would do this via audio. So head over to homegadgetgeeks.com. Do it today because you'll forget. Homegadgetgeeks.com. There's a microphone button in the bottom right hand corner. Click on it. You got 30 seconds to leave your favorite dad joke. Leave one, leave a few. I'd love a few from you if you could get that done. And then send me an email, jim@theaverageguy.tv. Let me know you've done that so I can go over there and get those. And we will congratulate him on being a upcoming dad. All right. I am Sammie's dad. Sammie is with me tonight.
Hello.
It is our traditional. I don't know. How long do you think? Is this 4, 5 maybe if
4 or 5 seems
something
right.
like that? Moved kind of to this format the Friday after, kind of catch up with you.
Mhm.
Welcome to Home Gadget Geeks.
Thanks for having me again.
Okay. Last week or 2 weeks ago. No, last
2
week
weeks
we
ago.
talked 2 weeks ago, we talked about your accident. And I think a lot of folks, I showed the pictures. You're here. Just to update some folks. They're worried about you. How are you?
I am doing much better, fortunately. And it wasn't, I mean, in terms of whether it was a bad accident or not, from the car perspective, it was. But from the human perspective, it was not that bad. It didn't break any bones, didn't have any internal bleeding, just got really bruised and was achy for a couple days, took a day off work. But I've been resting, healing, been to the chiropractor, feeling much better. Still carless at this moment. We'll start car shopping soon, but doing much better overall.
What have you learned? I set you on a mission to learn more about vehicles in this process. I want you to be a part of it, you to pick it out. What have you learned so far?
I think I've learned there's definitely like the general stuff that I had heard bits and pieces from like watching other people car shop about like making sure that it hasn't been in accidents before, whether or not it's a salvage title, how many miles it has on it. But I also have been learning from especially my brother Tim, who is a mechanic professionally, about the fact that like when you say there's an automatic transmission, there's multiple types within that. So like in certain makes have better versions of those transmissions than others. So you got to watch out for that and like learning to look back at like whether that make and model has had a recall that year and how to do
Mhm.
that on Kelly Blue Book and all that jazz. Basically, just like digging into the meat of the history of a car. Because I started with like 0.5% of knowledge. Now I have like 2% knowledge.
Oh, well, you have this Clifton Strengths theme of input, which I
Yes,
think is number 1 for you, right?
it is my number one.
Which means you like to collect all this information. So I kinda challenged you to just get smarter about the process. Are you leaning John Biggs in the chat says, now is a great time to buy a Tesla for real. That's because their prices are down. But
Yes.
what are you thinking? What do you kind of, we haven't decided yet. We've got insurance money still coming. We went through your budget. We kind of figured out what you could do, some of those kinds of things, secured some financing. But what are you kind of looking for? Do you think?
Tesla is a little out of the budget, but wewe're
Mm,
looking at 8 to
probably.
10-year-old cars. 2015 is like the goal year. Um, I was driving a Civic before, a 2006 Civic Hybrid that served me super well, and so I'm a little biased. A lot of the families owned Civics, Honda Civics, before, and so I know that they're reliable and I trust them. So that's definitely option A. We're also becoming a Subaru family. Jim, dad, and mom both own Subarus, um, and John has owned one, another brother.
Yeah.
But so their kind of like sedan of choice is the Legacy, which is what Jim has. Um, which is also an option, a 2015 Legacy. But I'm also looking at, in case those ones tend to get, those at the price point that I'm looking for tend to get snatched up quick. So I'm also looking at something that's doesn't, because like I like the Subarus for their safety features especially, but something that's more in the line of a Honda Civic is I think it's a Hyundai Elantra. They made a bunch, like Hyundai improved dramatically between 2011 and 2015, and they made a bunch of Elantras in 2015. And so there's a bunch on the market, and not for necessarily bad reasons. Like there was one recall for a brake fluid line thing that I'd have to get checked out, but there's a bunch on the market which decreases the demand for them, but they're not a bad car. So that's another one that
Yeah.
I'm considering, but mostly looking at non-American made sedans from about 2015.
Yeah. Joe says out in chat, says you can get a used Model 3 for less than 20 with the rebate. We are, and I think we're trying to keep you in that 10 range for,
Yeah.
you've got some money to put down. So 15,
Hmm.
10 to 15 is kind of where we want to get you to be. That seems about the right price. The used car market is depressed overall. It's
Hmm.
the new market. We kind of the opposite swing where we were 3 years ago. So we're in good shape. I am most excited about you learning about some of these technical things. You were spending some time. Subarus have CVT transmissions and Hondas don't, and we were talking a little bit about the differences between the two and what it means for that. So it's just good. I think it's give you a good education on the car process. I think you'll also appreciate it a little bit more when you have it,
For sure.
thinking about maintenance and some of those kinds of things that go into it. So I think overall good experience for you, even though it was a terrible experience, but you're okay, right? I mean,
Yes,
I said that, but
I'm
you're
all
okay,
right.
right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Good.
And and EVs are exciting. I'm glad that more companies are making electric vehicles. And so that'll probably might be my next car, because hopefully I will get a long time out of this next car that I buy. So the car after that, maybe some used EVs will be
Yeah.
in good shape,
Yeah.
and everybody will have fine-tuned the technology, because
No,
I don't want to be on the bleeding edge of the new technology. I'm not about that. I like
yeah.
tried and true.
Yeah. I wonder, that's a good question. I wonder if we would consider EVs still. Would they bleeding as the very first one, right? Then
Yeah.
cutting would be the second
Hmm.
one. Where they kind of land in that, I think they're getting fairly mainstream. The fact
Yeah.
that there's used cars out there that now in that environment, we would have to set up. And I was, thinking about this when I was thinking of buying that Cybertruck. We'd if we did it, you're still here. We'd have to have
Hmm.
some kind of charging thing for you
Yeah.
here if you went that route. So we could do it. I mean, it could be done, but we're not going to do it at least at this point.
Not
So
not right now,
yeah,
but it's a thought for the future for
yeah,
sure.
it's
The
good.
future is electric vehicles, in my
Yeah,
opinion.
yeah, yeah. You're probably right. So good stuff. Okay, let's catch up. A lot has happened to you since last year. Let's
Indeed.
for those who haven't listened before. Where were you last year at this time? And then let's progress forward. Just catch people up.
So last year, I had been working at the Bellevue Public Library, our local public library, for about 9 months, I think, 9 or 10 months. And I was really hitting my stride, and I was eyeballing a potential promotion that was I could kind of see it down the line, that somebody up the chain was going to leave. And I was kind of eyeballing that position, ended up not getting it, and I started job hunting. So in the past year, I spent the first part of the year at the Bellevue Library job hunting, accepted a position doing not what I'm doing, put in my 2 weeks at the library. My first day at that, what was going to be my new job, I got offered a better job. So I took that and ended up having 6 weeks with no work, which was less than ideal, but not a financial catastrophe because I have a good situation here. Um, but now I work at one of our local high schools. I am their library para. So we have two librarians and they do all the librarian stuff. So one of them does collection maintenance and one does research teaching. But I am in charge of like the space and the students. So that's essentially what I do now.
That's a big, I mean, from what I hear as you talk about it, I mean, you're in charge of the students,
I
right? I
kind
mean,
of am, and they refer to
mm,
me as a librarian, which is very flattering based
yeah,
on the fact that I have no librarian education as of right now.
yeah,
But it
yeah.
is very nice, and it was an upgrade to a full-time gig, which is what I needed, and I've got a really good benefits package because I work for a school district. So it was a really big step up into real adulthood for me, and it was very exciting. So I
Mhm.
started in August, and so I'm almost one semester down working at the school.
Yeah, what have you learned from, I don't know if going into this job you thought it was gonna be as student heavy, or maybe you did, I don't know. What have you learned about yourself through this process?
Once I did the second interview with the librarians, I knew it was gonna be a very student
Okay,
heavy
okay,
job, but I
okay.
didn't know how that was gonna go because I had some experience working with teens, but that was never like a primary function of my job. It was something that I was like, "I think I can do this," but I was very much like, I could crash and burn and get fired. Like we'll see. We'll hope I rise to the occasion. And I think I have. I think I do a pretty good job. People say nice things about me, and a lot of the students like me. The ones that like to break rules don't like me, but that's pretty par for the course. But yeah, I think I like working with teenagers a lot more than I thought I ever would. I never, if you had told me 5 years ago, like, hey, you're going to be working in a high school, I would have been like, that's crazy. I cannot imagine that. But like
Yeah,
as I've aged into like my mid to late 20s and I'm farther distant from when I was a teen, I'm still close enough that I remember being a teenager, but I'm not so close that it's blurring the lines between peer and like real adult. So I'm really enjoying it.
yeah.
And I think I'm really good at it. And it's nice to have a steady gig that's like career growth opportunities.
Yeah, Joe asked from the chat room, you get summers off then, and how does that work?
I sure do. Unfortunately, I don't get paid for my summers off, so I will figure out some sort of temp summer gig. A lot of teachers and school staff members do summer school. Our school doesn't have my particular high school farms out all of its academic recovery stuff to other schools. So I don't know if there will be a summer school opportunity available to me. I'm counting on there not being one, and I'm looking at gigs, probably something like waitressing or working in a movie theater, something like that, just
Yeah,
to pay the
yeah.
bills, keep me busy.
Well,
Um,
and there
for the
may
time
be
being,
something that pops up for
there may be
you. Yeah,
something, and that would be
yeah,
great
yeah,
to just keep working for the schools.
yeah. Let me roll back a little bit. As you were looking, we knew, the library job was part time. It didn't have any benefits. You were going to turn 26, this fall. We knew we'd been talking about it for a while. You kind of needed to find that job, or, we'd have to go to the marketplace for
Mhm.
benefits for you, right? But what'd you learn in that? Any, as you think about the job search and doing it, what'd you learn? Again, you have high input. What'd you learn about that, or through that process, and any technology that you used to help find these jobs?
I mean, I spent a lot of time on Indeed mostly because it
Mhm.
has good search parameters for narrowing things down, especially because in terms of finding entry level full time jobs that are all in person, because I did not want anything remote or hybrid. I work best when I go into a job, clock in, work the day, clock out, and then just leave work at work. One of the things that fits the bill the most in our area is healthcare, and I did not want to work in healthcare. So
Mm.
that weeded out a ton of jobs, and so filtering all of those things down. But really, it is just a numbers game. I spent probably 6 months job hunting and looking for stuff before, and I applied for, like, I would go in and I'd go in a couple times a week, and I'm like, "I'm gonna apply for at least 5 jobs
That's a good
today."
idea. Yeah.
And I did that a couple times a week for 6 months. And the first 5 months, I heard zilch. I got, like, 2 introductory interviews with, like, the recruiting company, but not with the actual company, and then there was one where I was lined up to do an interview, and then I backed out because it was gonna be me spending a bunch of time on the phone, and I was like, this doesn't feel right, I don't actually wanna do it." So I think the biggest takeaway was patience,
Mm.
because in the last month, 3 opportunities all came all at the same time, and one of them would have been good, but because the school job was the one that I wanted, because I was looking at other, like, clerical work, essentially, stuff that would harness my skills, because there's not a ton of library work when you don't have a library degree. But as soon as the library para position opened at the high school that I work at, I was like, "This is my number 1 candidate." But there were 2 others that I got interviews for and got offered, and I didn't like them as much, but I hadn't heard back from the school. And so, like,
Mhm.
balancing that, like, do bird in the hand, bird in the bush,
Mhm.
I let go of 2 birds in the hand for the one in the bush, and it was
Right.
worth it.
Yeah.
But that was
Wow.
a big risk, and I'm glad that I took it, but it was scary, but it was all about patience, because that
Yeah.
was the right thing. I would have ended up taking my career off of doing library stuff just in order to have a full-time job with benefits when I did get to, in the end, to do
Yeah.
both.
Yeah, it was a good move. I too, I mean, you say it was risky. It was, it's a city job,
Yeah,
and once you had it type deal, and they
yeah.
offered it to you. But you never know. Are you gonna what's the plan? Real quick, I'm sure some folks are asking. So you say you don't have any library experience, you go to school for that. What's the plan to finish up? You've got some stuff to finish up your degree, and you can do that. What's your plan to do that?
Yes. So I had people who have listened to the Collison special for a little while. Before I started working at the library, I'd done a semester at UNO in their multidisciplinary studies. Sorry about my mic. In their
Mm,
multidisciplinary studies major, where I would basically harvest and recycle some of my journalism stuff and then fill in the rest of the degree with new stuff. But I didn't really know, I was very, like, aimless, didn't really know what I was going to do from that point. So I just kind of, like, picked some humanities stuff, but be without that drive of, like, I'm working towards this thing, and without, like, having a dedicated time to do schoolwork, like doing most of my schoolwork remote, I was not successful. But UNO has a library science program that you can execute entirely online that is part of the multidisciplinary studies major. So I have developed a plan for doing the same thing of making my journalism credits the secondary, and then making the primary concentration of the degree library science. Um, the current plan, because I need about 12 courses, is to spread it out and do a course per trimester so I can do school while working full time, because even doing school part time would be a lot. So one class per trimester for the next 4 years or so, and end up with a bachelor's in library science and journalism,
mm,
which would be
yeah.
great. And also is great because my pension plan through the schools has a 5-year vestment period. So if I stay for 5 years, then the district matches everything that I've put into that pension. So it behooves me to stay in this job
Yeah. Yeah.
for at least 5 years. And if I spend those 4 of those 5 years finishing my degree, then I am geared to potentially leave the district and go back to maybe the public library
Mm,
sector
yeah.
with more experience, knowledge, and a pretty good boost to my retirement
Yeah,
years.
gives you some good options. It just
Yeah.
gives you some good options. It's always that's the question I get from folks who know you all the time is, "So is she gonna finish?" I'm like, "Oh, there's a plan. There's a
There's a
plan there.
plan, and
There's a plan."
I might get 1 or 2 semesters into it, and it might crash and burn, but I feel like I've learned a lot about myself and what motivates me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I ha the nature of my job is I have a lot of not downtime at my desk, but I spend a lot of the time at the desk just needing to be available to students. So I can't
Mhm.
get like locked in on anything. I can't put headphones in. I can't get like deep into a book or like play music. And so I just need to be at the desk doing things that can be dropped in a second to help a student or to
Mhm.
deal with a behavior issue, something like
Mhm.
that. And so
Mhm.
like online schoolwork is something that I can execute in those little bits of time at my desk at work. And so I can just like do school at work and not worry about the anxiety of like bringing homework home, which is one of the things that I really struggled with. So that's nice. This is
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
ideal plan to hack my brain and
Yeah.
my executive
Uh,
dysfunction problems.
I think it's a good one. I think you got a good shot at it. Nothing's guaranteed, but you got a good you have a really good shot at it. You had during the job search, you had run your resume through Chat GPT
I
to
did
kind
do
of
that.
sharpen it up. How'd that experience go?
It was really good for the thing that I needed most, which was condensing my bullet points because I'm just like a long-winded writer. This
Mhm.
is the thing about me, and like the thing that made it um doable as a journalist was that all of my writing would go through bare minimum 3 editors, if not 4 or 5, and they would really help me cut stuff down, or I would write a whole story and then cut it down. And I think I was just out of practice, honestly. Like a lot of the stuff that I was writing was really long-winded. Every like paragraph under it was a true paragraph under each experience bullet of like here's all the things that I did. Was like, let's just make this shorter. Let's just condense this sentence into like 3 words. And I'm like, thanks, I needed that. I just needed an editor, basically.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it
Did
worked
you
and it
take
condensed it into a 1 page.
Okay. I was gonna say, did you take exactly what it gave you? Did you go back and do your own revision on it?
I did some tweaks because sometimes it would cut out something that I felt was important because it's a machine. It doesn't think the way that people do.
Yeah.
Um, so I did tweak it a little bit, and like I didn't use it to like write the resume whole cloth. Like I kind of knew how to write a resume, and I knew how I wanted it to be structured, but it was mostly like the actual meat of the resume of like describing what my jobs were. It condensed those in from paragraphs into bullet points really well.
My temptation would be to just dump the whole thing in there and then it'd give me something back and I just use it. Did you did you go back and forth with it? Did you use it for several edits or was it kind of, hey,
It
give
was
me some ideas
It
here
was the
and
main bulk edit of just, like, shrinking it down to a 1 page. Because really, when you're looking at entry level jobs, people are not gonna read more than 1 page of resume,
yeah.
so I just really needed it to be, like, concise to the
Mm.
point. And I also think I liked that it used I mean, people will say this, that, like, a lot of companies that are doing bulk hiring will run resumes through, um, technology that will scan through and look for certain keywords. And people have said that ChatGPT is very good at giving you those keywords. I
Mm.
don't know necessarily that that's true. I didn't have that like direct feedback, but it was something that I was hoping and might be true. It might be nonsense, but
No.
it did give me some corporate sounding descriptive words.
Yeah. No, I'm sure in it has a lot of resumes in
Hmm.
its right in its review. So
Yep.
that's what it's good at. I mean,
Yeah.
that's one of
That's
those
one of the
things that
few
it's good
things
at.
I've ever used ChatGPT for, but
Yeah.
it certainly made the most sense as an
Mhm.
application for an AI.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. No, super cool. The new library, the new
Yes.
school, Central, downtown, it's convenient because I can drop you off as we're getting
I
in the
can
car.
literally see Gallup from the window
Yeah.
that I eat
It's
lunch at.
really super, super
It's
convenient.
great.
But it's a brand new building and it's got some brand new tech. What talk a
Yes.
little bit about some of the tech that you inherited in this new job.
Yes. So the school itself is very old, one of the oldest schools, if not the oldest school in the state. But the wing that the library is in was finished and opened in 2019. So the library used to just be like a bunch of classrooms where the walls were knocked down in between. But now they have purpose built a space for the way that we use libraries now. Because now, like when the librarians give the intro to freshmen when they come in and they talk about the history of the library used to have more books in it than it does. and you would think that with a bigger space you would have more books, but like we've changed the way that we use libraries, and
Mhm.
so now half of the library is a classroom space with like tiered seating and a projector that comes down from the ceiling, and because all of the students have iPads, so all of the students come in, they take a seat in the classroom area, they open up their iPads, and the librarians will teach them, like give them readers advisory or teach them how to research, which is one of the primary things that school libraries have done and continue to do. But so much of that research is now through online databases, and so you need a device in front of you, you're not hitting the books. Students will come and ask for books about their topics, they'll ask for nonfiction, and I'm like, honestly, our nonfiction section is really sparse because all of it is in our databases. um, and so that's kind of half the library, and a lot of the library honestly is social space because there's so few spaces in the school, because everything, like, space is at a premium. There's so few spaces in the school for students to just hang out and just like do homework during their study hall before or after school. And so that's one of the primary uses for the space, is just independent study space, which is it's very similar to a college library in that way. A lot of high school libraries are becoming more college library like, less books, more outlets everywhere. Every single surface that could have an outlet has an outlet. And there's just lots of tables and places for students to sit and either use their iPad, because every student has one, or check out a
Mhm.
laptop. We
Mhm.
have a mini computer lab, but we're honestly getting rid of it at the end of the semester, because
Really?
it's all students are doing is playing
Yeah.
games on the
Yeah.
PCs,
Yeah.
because they can get access to games that they can't get access to on their iPads.
There
So we're
you
just
go.
getting rid of it. We're hooking up a PC into the printer so students can print, and we're just going to use those tables as more classroom
The
space.
old print server is what you're
The
making.
old print server,
The
yes.
old print
Oh my
server.
gosh, getting
Mhm.
things printed is a hullabaloo.
Well, and printing has taken on a whole different thing too. I mean, we still have to print,
Hmm.
but I just don't think we're printing like we used to. I mean,
No, but
it's
there are teachers who are still old school enough that they don't want students turning in papers in like Canvas digitally.
yeah,
They want a
yeah,
physical
yeah,
piece of paper.
yeah. Yeah, it'll be a while, I think, before I mean, it's
Hmm.
I would I'd want it I'd want a paper
It
because
is
it's
nice.
e
It is
it
nice because if especially if it's double spaced, you can write
yes.
notes and feedback
Yeah,
in the margins. It's easier to read for the teacher when they're grading 100 essays
yeah,
to have a physical
yeah,
paper rather than a screen in front of them for several
yeah,
hours. So,
yeah.
I get it.
Well, and you could use I mean, you could get a version that is like paper on 'em and
Mhm.
then make the markings and do all the things that you would normally do, right, via PDF. But I get it. I mean, it's
Yeah.
that as you think about the last bastion of paper printing, school papers are probably the last thing and a lot of businesses are probably still doing stuff
Mhm.
on paper. I I'll be honest, I don't print that much anymore. What's crazy, I print Menards receipts because they make you
It's the rebate.
they make you.
Yeah.
I've printed some, insurance things that we've done
Mhm.
recently. I keep
'Cause
printed
medical stuff
copies.
you is all either
Yeah,
physical paper or fax.
yeah,
Like, that's still the
yeah.
most secure way with HIPAA. We appreciate HIPAA.
Insurance your insurance card is a paper
Mhm.
card. Now, like USAA, who we have for insurance, they make it so you can if you needed it, you can get your insurance card pretty easily through the app, and you can just show it to it during your
Mhm.
accident. We actually, the police officer handed me back your insurance information, and I looked at it, and it was it was
It was the
expired.
expired one, I lost the most
And
updated one.
I was like, "Oh, this is expired." I'm like, do you need me to get you?" And he's like, "No, no, you'll be fine. You're fine."
Yeah.
He was like, "Oh, it'll be fine."
Because
And
in
I
the
could
end,
have
if you
brought that up.
call USAA and give them our names, they're gonna be like, "Yes, these people are insured."
Yeah. Yeah.
Still.
Yeah, yeah. They were the officer who was there for you and the in Nebraska, we have a department of roads we have a big truck, and all their job is to do is to protect motorists who
Mhm.
are stopped. It's crazy. If you in the city of Omaha, right? It may be Sarpy County as well. It may be a Nebraska thing, but they a
But
big
yeah,
big truck pulls up with lights
first
behind
person on
you.
the scene
Bucks
was
was he? Was
roadside
that guy?
assist. Yeah, to stop
Yeah,
behind my car
yeah.
and make sure that nobody hit me.
Yeah, yeah, it was kinda cool. They kinda blocked everything out. Traffic was not happy with us. You made the
No, because
radio.
we were on a major highway, between 3:30 and 6:30
Oh my gosh, it
in the
was
afternoon. Truly, there's no ideal time to have an accident, but I maybe
no,
had the least ideal time
it
of
was
day to have an
Friday. It was
accident.
Friday.
It was Friday
I
too. I
I
was
just
gonna go grocery shopping. I got out of
people
work early.
people were burning out, they would it was slow to
Yeah,
up to us, and then it would open
you'd
up
hear their
again, and then you'd
engines
hear people,
rev.
"Roar," just
"Screw
mad.
you, I'm stuck on the side of the road."
Just mad at us.
Yeah.
Yeah, so printing has I just bought it's interesting though. I just bought a new, black cartridge for our printer because it had run out of ink. And Sarah said, get the big one. Like typically I buy the cheap, the
Yeah.
one that's got like 2 ounces of printer ink in it. And we got the one that had more than that. It's ridiculous how expensive that stuff is. But yeah, so it's any other things technology wise. I mean, I love the classroom, big screen comes down. Anything else you're taking advantage of from a technology
It
perspective?
is interesting because we are in a mixed ecosystem school. So most schools, especially in the area, started on PC. Like nobody could afford
Mhm,
Macs in
mhm.
schools, so everything was desktop PCs. That's what all the computer labs were made up of. All the teachers had HP laptops. All of the projectors and the printers were PC compatible. But now that Mac is more affordable and also in a lot of ways more ideal for what schools are doing, um, and the fact that students now have iPads as personal devices, every single student in the district, I believe, has an iPad that they do most of their work on, and they have keyboard covers, so they basically function as a laptop. That is less compatible with the fact that everything is HP and PC, and so the district is transitioning in the way that things that the government runs are slowly and somewhat inefficiently, but it happens when it happens,
Yeah.
transitioning over to a Mac ecosystem. But it's somewhat of a painful transition because half the printers in the building are Apple printers and half are not. So
Uh,
students will come in with their iPad and they're like, "I can't connect to the printer," and I'm like, "You're gonna have to email your document to me, and I'm just gonna have to print it from my desktop computer PC." All the teachers are switching over from they had I think all of the teachers had Surface, either Surface tablets or Surface laptops, Windows Surface. And so they're now switching from those to MacBooks. Like that rollout has happened this semester is a bunch of MacBooks, and we all of our software is the Microsoft Office suite, and we use Outlook, and we might have to switch over to the Google suite. Maybe how well does the Microsoft suite work on Macs? I don't even know these days.
yeah, it works pretty well.
I haven't used one in a
Yeah,
while, so
yeah,
maybe we'll stay in the Microsoft
yeah. You
suite
probably
for
will.
software,
Yeah, yeah.
but we use Outlook and we use Teams for everything.
Right,
But
right.
that is running it on the iPads. We'll
No,
see.
it should
We'll
it
we'll
should
see.
it should work. Yeah,
Yeah,
Microsoft made a huge initiative to be as Mac friendly or to be as
yeah.
iPad friendly as it was on the Windows. So
Mhm.
that
But yeah,
should
and
be that should be no
the
problem.
building tech support guy was asking for my machine number of all of the computers that we use to check out books, and and I was like, just out of curiosity, why do you want to know? And he was like, oh, the district might replace them with desktop Macs, and I was like, please.
Yeah, yeah, you're on a Mac.
So
You're on a Mac, so
yes,
right,
in
your
my
machine,
personal
right,
computer is a Mac, but working on my school desktop computer that I check out books to students on and do all my work on as a PC. And so
yeah,
it's a little incongruent. There is certainly um junk in the gears between as we
yeah,
transition
yeah,
over.
it's
But
getting
you
better,
know, that's
getting better.
life. That's working in schools.
Well, like even tonight, right? We were trying to come up with 1,000 ways, you on your Mac, and it's got
Mhm.
2 USB-C. connections.
and one standard headphone aux
Yeah,
cable, and that's the only ports on the whole thing.
that's it. And
Good old
so
MacBook Air.
all of my sound equipment is kind of designed for the most part
Mhm.
for PC. It's USB-A. And so we were like, okay, how are we gonna so you and I were brainstorming like, okay, what do we I could go buy an adapter, All of a sudden I'm like, wait a minute, I have an extra laptop it's a PC. You could just it's the one I
Yeah,
use, it's the one I use in the shack. And I was like, you could just use that
just
one.
borrow it
And
for a couple hours,
yeah,
so
I
it's fine.
mean, everything will plug in just fine. It's got plenty of USB-A ports. And
Mhm.
so we went that direction tonight. I tell you what, I've really liked having it all. Like I've got a Mac Mini. We talked about it last week. I got the new M4. I've got Windows PCs everywhere. I've got touch PCs as well. So got a few touch that I can use. I'm using an Android tablet for monitoring things, right? iPhone for my phone device. So I'm kind of hitting all I got Mac and Windows, Android and iPhone. I for most things, for me anyways, all the cross compatibility works just fine. And then I find I'm using for myself, I'm using the piece of hardware that's best at it, whatever I need it to be.
Mhm.
I try to pick the piece of hardware that's like, okay, this is going to be best on the Home Assistant runs great. The dashboard runs great on the Surface Pro because it's a
Mhm.
touch screen, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of designed for that. I watch YouTube on the big monitors because it's great on that. So, and I've got a VR headset too
Mhm.
that I tried to get back into the other day. I don't know. I
Yeah.
want that thing to work. It just doesn't. But I don't know. I think, Sammie, in this conversion for you guys, it's not about going one. I think it's not about going on only on one ecosystem, but finding the right hardware that works. And I know sometimes the compatibility is iffy, but it seems like it's getting better. I don't know. Your thoughts?
Yeah. I think if there was ever a time to have to deal with a mixed ecosystem school, this is better. Like, this is one of the best times because technology, in my experience, has moved so far away from your software being downloaded onto your machine. And 99% of the stuff we do is in a browser or
Mhm,
is in a web app that
mhm,
takes a minute to download. And so, like, when I was in school, like the Office suite, you bought you bought Word and you downloaded it onto that computer and you only had it on that computer, but you had it on that computer forever. And like so you had it was very machine specific and you had to be on a specific computer to get to certain things. Weren't saving things on the cloud. We had flash drives. But now everything is in the cloud. You can use the entire Microsoft suite in a browser. You can I think Adobe to a limited capacity you can use in a browser. And it's a membership, and so you can log in and get it onto whatever computer you're using at the time, which is way easier.
yeah,
It is
yeah,
more expensive, which I
yeah,
don't like. I don't like that you can't just buy it and have it forever, that you have to keep subscribing to it. But it does make it more convenient for if you're a multiple device user or if you are in school and you're using a computer in the library and a computer in your dorm and a computer in the classroom. These are all different. Floating between different devices has never been easier because everything is in the internet
yeah,
at this point. And
yeah.
so other than trying to connect to printers, everything is fine. It's just trying to get so we're just gonna hardwire a PC into the printer and we're like, you're just gonna have to log into that computer,
Yeah,
pull what you need to print from the cloud and print it, and it'll take you 5
yeah,
minutes, but
yeah,
you guys are high schoolers, you can do it. Or
yeah.
you can just email it to me and I'll print it for you. Sometimes that's faster, honestly.
Our home printer, I have an HP. I think
Mhm.
I spent $50 on it. Like the printers themselves have never been cheaper. But
Yes.
the print software on that thing, it is so intrusive. Like as soon as you fire up a computer in the house, it's
Mhm.
like somehow the print driver is there. It's like, oh, I found your printer. You can
Yep.
print to it. And so at least we found here even the other day I needed to print something and I couldn't get it. was having trouble getting it anywhere but my phone. And I'm just
Mhm.
like, okay, share to this printer.
Yeah.
So, and it just printed it, right?
And
And
I
so,
think one of the things why we don't connect to our printers as easily is because our network is like Fort Knox,
oh
because
yeah,
it's a school
yeah,
network.
yeah,
And
yeah.
so like you can't just like Wi-Fi password your way in.
Right,
Like you
right.
have to be on a device that is approved to be on the network in order to access anything.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
I'm doing the old um I don't even remember what it's called, but like I'm like right clicking on the Windows icon and doing run and doing like backslash writing in code, and like it pulls up all the print drivers and I have to
Yeah.
download it to that computer.
Uh-huh,
I'm like
uh-huh.
doing it maybe the most old fashioned way possible.
Yeah, we did that like 20 years ago.
Yep, I'm still
It's
doing
like
that.
a 20-year-old way of finding print drivers. Yeah, go to
Yep.
the network,
But
backslash,
that's what the
backslash.
tech guys put in they were like,
Yeah,
here's how you connect to a print driver. And I was like, works
yeah,
for me.
yeah. There's a discussion going on in chat with Joe and Sarah. Sarah's hanging out with us tonight.
Mm.
She has an older. I bought her a workstation 4 years ago, 5 years ago, maybe. Still Core i5, pretty good machine, but it's Windows 10 and it's not Windows 11 compatible. And most of
Planned
you know,
obsolescence.
yeah, well, for sure in this case, Windows 10 will drop support. It already has.
Hmm.
And so I said I could probably force Windows 11 onto it with the insider updates, make that work. And yet, to Joe's point, he said in chat, he said he had forced 11 on a fourth gen and it works beautifully. Supposedly, Microsoft won't allow 24H2, which is the Windows 11 next gen update to happen. So it may still fall out of support. I hadn't thought about that, Joe. So thanks for mentioning that. Although Sarah, you have a laptop too, so maybe it's time to retire that desktop. We'll have to move some things off of that. You have to go back to just the. Listen. I have a crypto machine that's running Windows 10. I think I'm just going to let it keep running. It won't get security updates. So Sarah, in your case, that's probably not a smart thing to do because you're
Yeah.
doing a lot of stuff on that. But
The computers at the Bellevue Library that run the catalog still had Windows 7 on them when I was there. So
yeah,
if you
yeah.
don't need a machine to do much, you don't need the newest software, I suppose.
No, yeah. We
You just
we
need it to
listen.
run a browser
We
once.
are at that spot on the Microsoft side, anyways, where they really encouraging everybody. It's kind of funny, like the rules have really changed on the Windows side. Hardware is definitely getting deprecated out. We're on the Mac side of things. Apple Intelligence is coming now. That's actually also true there, where my iPhone 12 will not get the Apple Intelligence stuff,
Mhm.
although it's not that great. So at least at this point, the stuff I've been messing with. So maybe we're at that time. I don't know. Maybe we're at that
Yeah,
time where
I don't even think I have the most recent iOS on my
on
13.
your
Yeah, I'm
phone.
still on iOS 17. I
Yeah.
haven't done 18 yet.
Okay.
I usually let it go through a few updates before I move to a new iOS, just to make
Yeah.
sure that they've gotten most of the bugs out. I let other people run into those bugs for me.
That's probably smart. That's probably smart. You know.
Me on the bleeding edge. We're circling back. I don't want to
Uh,
be on it.
yeah. 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 Well, you're a version ahead of me on the phone.
Mhm.
We got
Yep.
you a new phone. And my 12 still continues to run really well. I think I'm just going to
Mhm.
let it go to dust because
Same.
it's just
And
doing really well.
iPhone fixed the problem of if you left it charging overnight, it would fry the battery, and now it stops taking juice once it's
Mhm,
charged. And
mhm,
so you're leaving it plugged in overnight does not murder your phone. And so I think
mhm.
I'm gonna get a little bit more life out of this one than I did
Yeah,
my last one.
yeah. No, it'll
And
last.
I'm very gentle on my phones. Students, here's a crazy thing about high schoolers, they're walking around with no cases on their phones and they all have cracked screens. And I'm like, what do you know how much this costs? I
No.
know that your iPhone is your parents' old one, but it's still an
Mm,
expensive piece of technology. Why
yeah.
are you not taking care of it? It drives me crazy. Teenagers.
And when I bought the 12, I bought the Apple silicone cover for it, and it started peeling
It
off.
was garbage.
And I ended up getting a $7 cover
Yeah.
for it at Best Buy. maybe 10.
Yeah, I think I spent maybe $10 on this case. This is
Yeah.
the second one of the same brand. I just bought a new one because it started wearing out. I chipped the corner, but it like has my cards in it.
Yeah,
But truly, I've dropped this many, many times, and it's pristine.
for sure.
Why spend more than $20 on a case? Not worth it.
Joe says the latest update for iOS adds RCS chat, which is great for Android users.
Oh, that's very
So,
nice. So you can do mixed
mhm,
group chats.
mhm.
That's very nice because I do all my group chats in Facebook Messenger or Discord. So it would be nice to do them over text. That's
Yeah,
good to know.
yeah.
Maybe that'll get me on the new iOS.
It's funny how all these messenger protocols, all these messenger apps.
Mhm.
I was on a call this morning. I got up early and I was on a call with some friends in Brazil this morning. And I mentioned, yeah, I'm after the call, I'll probably connect with so and so on Facebook. And they said, Facebook? Like you're gonna do Facebook for that? And I'm like, yeah, it works out really well. I'm like, oh yeah, that's only WhatsApp in Brazil.
Mhm.
That's all they use down
Yep.
there. And so even regionally, there's some big differences
Yeah, I think outside of the US, everybody's using WhatsApp
for sure.
and Facebook Messenger because my generation is either falling off of Facebook or never had one to begin with, and everybody younger than me has never had a Facebook to begin with.
Hmm.
And so I've got a lot of group chats on Discord, but once everybody's on RCS, I think we'll be able to go back to texting each other
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
actually exchanging phone numbers instead of just being like, accept my friend request, please.
Sarah has
What's your
updated us
Discord username?
10-3 Nebraska still nearing the end of the third quarter. So we've got a little ways to go.
Stressful.
Sammy, anything else? We are you and I were both yawning before we got to tonight. Next year, I think we're going to do this at 7 and not
Yes.
8. But
Yeah, now that another thing about working for a school, I now wake up at 5 a.m. and go to bed at 8 p.m. I have
mhm.
an old lady grandma sleep schedule because I open up the library at 7 and
Yeah.
it takes a while to get to
Oh,
work.
yeah.
So that's my life now.
Yeah. And listen, I've been, man, at about 9:30, I fall off a cliff and I try to stay awake till 10 or 10:30 just because if I don't, I'll be up at 3 in the morning. So I just
Yeah.
try to make it. Anything else you want to throw in there before we wrap it
I
up?
don't think so, unless anybody has any questions about what it's like working with teenagers in the year of our
Oh,
Lord 2024.
well, your stories are funny as we're talking about them at dinner. I'm like, wow,
Yeah.
you're not cutting those kids any
No, and
slack.
I get called Miss Collison.
Yeah.
That's a big shift, is getting called Miss Collison instead of my
Yeah.
first name on a
Yeah.
daily basis, or just
Yeah.
Miss because they don't bother to kids
Right.
at my school don't bother to learn teachers' names. It's very silly.
Well, we're happy for you.
Yeah,
We were sad to see the 2006 Honda Civic make its way.
it was a bummer. I was very sad watching it get
Yeah,
towed away
it's a
from the
sad
front of
day,
our
but
house, but
we're glad it took good
yeah,
care of you.
18 years of good driving out of
Yeah,
that thing.
yeah, yeah. 250,000 miles,
Yep.
and it took good care of you. I mean,
And
it
it kept me
was.
alive on
It,
a front collision with a
yeah,
concrete barrier.
yeah, yeah. Front and side
Could
airbags
not have
deployed.
could not have been a worse place to hit a barrier, but
My listen,
I just bruised my collarbone really bad.
my favorite part. Well, there's I shouldn't say it this way, but my favorite part of the whole experience, the funniest thing of the whole
Yeah.
thing, was at one point Nebraska Department of Roads was out
Mhm.
and this guy was looking at the accident and he's looking up and you had taken out a temporary barrier
Mhm.
was up underneath the
One of the
car.
orange stripy things with the
Hmm.
flashers on top.
And a cone. You had
And a
taken a
cone.
cone
Don't
underneath.
forget the cone.
Yeah, the cone. You took the cone out. And the guy was like, well, what they were doing was assessing if you were going to have to pay to replace those. That's what they were assessing.
Yeah.
And the guy's like, nah, it's fine.
No.
He goes, just lean it up against the barrier. It'll be fine. And it was bent. It had a good C
It
bend
was,
to
like,
it.
fully under my
You
car.
you had bent it and
I
the
mean, Civics are designed for anything that hits the front end to go under instead of into the driver, so
right.
good
Yeah.
engineering.
No, it was super good. The car was full of Diet Coke, but
Yes, I had a full Diet Coke in my cup holder. I hadn't taken a single sip because I, like, swung by Burger King on my way out of work, and I was going to grocery shop, and I needed some caffeine, and, yeah, it went all over the car. My glasses on the floor, my car on or my phone on the floor.
yeah. Everything
One
is
single I talked about this BrewMate cup on an episode. Update.
Oh,
I
yeah,
still
yeah,
use
yeah,
it and still have it. It has one single dent below the handle from the accident. So, I had just gotten it last time I talked about it, and I can now fully wholeheartedly recommend
yeah.
a BrewMate
Nice. Yeah,
tumbler.
good. Well, we'll put a link to that in the show notes, the one link, the one product we talked about. And John says it was great hearing your updates. So thanks for coming on. As
Yes.
is the tradition stands, we'll have you back next. If we're still doing this, if I'm still doing it, we'll have you back next Thanksgiving.
Yes.
Or at least the week of Thanksgiving. Couple reminders on the way out. If you want to join us live for the next the next 3 weeks, Christian is back next week. It's his 14 years of Home Gadget Geeks, and we'll celebrate that with him. Don't forget the dad jokes. HomeGadgetGeeks.com. Record those
Submit
for
your
me.
dad jokes.
Submit your dad jokes, your best dad jokes. John Biggs is joining me on the 19th. No. Yes, on the 19th. But before that, Dave McCabe is going to come back and join us on the 12th. So Dave will be here on the 12th. John on the 19th. It's Christmas on the 26th. I'm taking that weekend off. And then Aaron Lawrence is back. We're going to look at the future of technology and gadgets for 2025. Kick off the year with Aaron, and she'll be here on the 2nd to get the new year started right. If you want to join us in the Discord group, head over to theaverageguy.tv/Discord. Love to have you a part of that group. That's a fun one. Some good stuff. We've been sharing some Black Friday deals and just some good stuff. Not too much talk, but just enough that it's there. Again, theaverageguy.tv/Discord. And don't forget the averageguy.tv platform, both web and media hosting, powered by Maple Grove Partners. Get secure, reliable, high-speed hosting from people that you know and you trust. And you know that's Christian. For more information, check out Maple Grove Partners, all one word, maplegrovepartners.com. He's got a plan. I think it's still starting at $10. We'll find out in next week when he's on, but I think the plans still start at $10. Sammie, thanks for coming on tonight, and we're glad you're fine. So I'm
Thanks for
glad it all
having me.
worked out
On
well.
my roller coaster of my 20s, every time I'm
Yeah.
on, my life is totally different.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of fun because we have 4 or 5 or 6 of
Mhm.
these where we kind of talk about what you're doing. So it's kind of cool. We are live every Thursday, 8 p.m. Central, 9 Eastern, out here at theaverageguy.tv/live. Be back next week with Christian. Sanders is in the room now meowing. For everybody who listened live, thanks for coming out. With that, we'll say goodbye, everybody. Brian, thanks for checking in. Brian says just got home.
Oh,
Can't wait to watch it. Yeah, we got an update for you there. It's already in replay if you want to go back and catch that.
Sanders managed to be quiet for most of the show.
He did. He did a nice job.
My
Sanders is
kitty
the cat,
cat.
by the way.
Yeah,
He is
he's
the
my
cat.
cat. I've had him
Folks,
for a year and a half now.
we're going to let you go on this holiday weekend. We've got a football game to wrap up, and I've got a show to edit.
And I've got sleep to be sleeping.
And Sammie's got to get herself to bed. So we'll see.